I want to talk about the evil that I've encountered in my life. It tends to be persistent. And not for lack of standing up to it. And it begins in my youth, dealing with bullies and people who torment others. I wasn't the first one to be tormented. There was this little stinky kid named Joe. He was poor. His breath smelled like poop. He had horrible oral hygiene. I don't think his parents taught him proper hygiene. And they lived in the poor part of town. And some people used to beat up him all the time. And the thing is, he was like the whipping boy of a group of so-called friends. And like he'd hang around with them, but they'd beat on him. And he'd hate it. At the same time, he'd love it. They beat on him at school, but he'd play with them after school, or they beat on him there too. It was a weird kind of relationship they had. Because at least he belonged. He's the person they beat up on, apparently. But it was horrible. I mean, the whole class turned against him. Everyone turned against him. I was myself and one other guy, the only ones who stood by him. And at the time, I was a kid, I thought authority figures might actually correct the problem. So, I remember seeing him just get the shit kicked out of him at recess and whatnot. So I went to the administration. I'm like, this has got to stop. Now, people called me a fink, and they called me a traitor or whatever. And it was there that I realized that evil forms packs. Evil understands their strength in numbers. Well, the good guys always have to stand alone. Okay? They make it out to be like the, I don't know, some story set in the 1950s where, the oddball guy stands up to the bully, and they have a fist fight and they're friends after. Or they might have had it on, some sort of, in the 80s, we had these after-school specials. They were like some sort of live action drama, involving teenagers and some sort of moral lesson. ABC after school special, whatever. And in fact, in my house, we weren't allowed to watch TV during the week unless it's an after school special. And so you'd watch it, and there might be some story with a moral to the story, and the kid getting picked on stands up to the bully, punches him in the mouth. Maybe he loses the fight, but whatever. The guy, respects him after. They become friends after. I know there's people online, they'll tell the story. Yeah, I thought my bully became best friends after. I'm good for you. In my experience, those who want to torment others, they travel in packs. And if they're solo actors, they have friends that'll back them up. And you stand up to one and the others jump. And if you stand up to him, he gets pissed off and he comes back. You have to pretty much go Ender's Game on his ass. Now, if you've ever read Ender's Game, I forget the character's main name. I know his name was Ender or something. Ender, kid got beat up in school, so he decided to thrash his bully. He not only did he knock him down, but he curb stomped him until he got in the hospital. And when asked why'd you curb stomp him, he's like, well, because if I just knocked him down, he'd come back. But if I totally destroyed him, then he can't come back. He wouldn't want to come back. And so the whole stand up to the bully and trade a few punches thing is just bullshit. And that's just talking about the school age bullying. Other forms of bullying are just far more insidious, especially when you get to the adult world, when you can't get away with that kind of violence when you want to hurt somebody, but you can. I forgot to go to the bank. Damn it. Oh well. You can, especially if a position of authority, like a workplace boss or something, you can make someone's life miserable. And if they stand up to you in any substantive way that'll do something about it, they're the ones who are going to go to jail. They're the ones who are going to lose their job. You can abuse power pretty easily and hurt people fairly easily. Unfortunately. That's a big unfortunately. Well, maybe there's still a car here at the bank. Maybe, not the bank, at the fucking post office. Maybe they'll let me come in. We'll see. I think they might be closed up. Maybe it's just the staff, the people who are delivering the mail today, whose cars are here. All right, hold on a second. I missed it by half an hour. That's fine. Just have to do it on Monday. I woke up extra early today, and so I feel like I've lived the whole day, and it's only 1 o'clock in the afternoon, a little after 1. So Okay, we're talking about the subject evil. In my experience, evil has to be dealt with decisively, or it comes back. Yeah, I can't curb stomp anyone, right? The police will come for me. But the social equivalent of the curb stomp's the only thing that seems to stop it. And it's frustrating. And I seem to irritate people who are, that's the right word, demonic. Now, I said in my previous video, I was talking about the amygdala and the inability for the prefrontal cortex to regulate the alarm signals in the amygdala. I know that's part of it. There's some people who never learn to regulate their amygdala response. So they become particularly nasty when they encounter me. I'm sure it's my lack of body language, appropriate in quotation marks, that brings it out in people. No doubt. No doubt. Okay. So if anyone tells you you need to just stand up for yourself, it'll be fine. Nah, yeah, when you assert stand up for yourself, it has to be, in my experience, it has to be, again, metaphorically speaking, the equivalent of a curb stomp to make it stop. You can't just, trade punches. Again, metaphorically speaking, not all these things are violent. Some of these are social. You have to curb stomp your adversary. You have to humiliate them. You have to totally obliterate them to make them stop. You have to basically become the predator instead of being just the saintly person defending himself. And I don't like that. And so part 2 of this video, I'm going to talk about an African gentleman I used to work with from the Congo. And I'm going to talk about community and responding to bullying, because we live in a culture in America where the bad guys act together and the good guys always have to fight their own battles. And I'm going to talk about a people who didn't leave their innocent members to fight their own battles. They stuck together. And I'll tell that story. I'm going over to the little tea shop in town, tea and coffee and art and whatever, to get a little bit of, the artsy pastry and some tea, and then I'll come back. All right. Part 2, I'm going to talk about Ralph from the Congo. Now, Ralph's not his real name. I'm calling him Ralph for the purpose of this video. Now, he used to work where I worked for several years. And he and I were never really close. I mean, I liked him. He was friendly. He could speak 5 languages. And he was really good at his job. And then for a while, one day he asked me to give him a ride to work. And I did. He's like, okay, see you tomorrow, same time. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, oh, I need an ongoing ride while I look for another car. I'm like, oh, I wish you told me that. I wish you asked me that. And I would have said yes. Please don't. Please don't just assume I give you one ride, you're gonna get a bunch. But it was fine. We got along all right. I pick him up. He lives several miles from work, so I pick him up, and we chit chat on the way to work. We talk about this and that. I really liked him. I liked listening to all his stories about where he came from, what life was like in his village. He talked about malarial mosquitoes. He said where he lived, the way he described it was the air was clean. There's no malaria. The malarial mosquitoes did not survive where he lived, though they were in other parts of the country, and he had contracted malaria before. And he talked about, told stories about how he used to run to school every day. His mom would give him a bottle of milk, and he'd run to school. I think it's like 8 miles or something like that. And where he lived, like, everyone just went on foot and they ran. It's normal. And then he'd take his lessons and he'd run home, and then he'd do his chores, because they were all farmers and cow herds and things like that. And then go to bed. And he told other stories. He had a grandfather. I think his grandfather had 2 or 3 wives, and I think he was fatigued with having 2 or 3 wives. I mean, that's a big honey-do list if you think about it. But like one day there was a lion that kept attacking their, I don't know if it was attacking the cows or their sheep or something. So he hit up on top of like a barn or a hutch or something with a spear. and wait for that lion to come, and he jumped down and chucked the spear at him, killed the lion. And he told me another story about, there's quite a bit of violence in the Congo, different rebel factions fighting over resources. And one day, some armed men came to attack his village. And it was the middle of the night, and he got up, everyone was naked, jumping out of bed, and he ran naked to the next town to get help. And then he ran back, and there was still chaos. And he rescued all the cows. Apparently, they didn't want their cows to get taken, because the cow was the source of their wealth. They had the milk, they got the manure, and I don't know if they killed their cows or if they just milked them. So he herded up all the cows, like over 80 cows, and he led them away from the battlefield, and he rescued all the cows. He's like heroic. So he's an interesting character. So this is why I want to tell the story. So he told the story that when he was a boy, one of the boys from his village was just out for a walk, and some boys from the neighboring village jumped him and beat him up. Now, where we are, we say, oh, he's got to fight his own battles, but that boy came back and told his friends, like, hey, the boys from that village jumped me and beat me up. So the boys from Ralph's village got together, and they went out there to fight the boys from the other village. And I think they lost the fight. At least Ralph told me that he got knocked out with a tree branch. But they went to pay him back. They stuck together. They looked after their own, something that we don't do here in the West. And part of that is because everything's so under the umbrella of rule of law, and you can only have to use force in immediate, imminent self-defense situation, but also we have this thing and let him fight his own battles. Now, the bad people, evil, always works in groups. They are unashamed of it. The good guys always told they have to stand alone. And they didn't operate that way there. Now, whatever... Look, in the sphere of the internet I intersect with on YouTube, you could talk about the failings of various African countries and in sub-Saharan Africa, and their cultural problems and their technological problems and whatever, embracing Marxism and whatnot. But one thing they got right is that their people looked after each other. The friends looked after each other. If someone from your village got beat up, then you guys went and paid back the people who beat them up. I admire that. They did not let that evil go unchallenged, and the boy who got beat up didn't have to stand alone. They let it be known that if you jump our people, then we're going to hit back, and good for them. Good for them. I go on and on about Ralph. Very interesting character. I probably annoy my friends when I talk. I like to talk about him. He was just a good guy. We were very different people, but I have fond memories of him. I hope he's doing well. I really do. I hope he as much as he liked living in America, I hope he found a way to save up and get the fuck out of Dodge before America falls to shit. Because he deserves better than to suffer here. In any case, that's his choice. So I'm talking about the subject of evil. Evil has to be dealt with decisively, or it just keeps coming back. Whatever mythologies they used to show on TV and whatnot, it's mythology. In my experience, it doesn't work like that. You don't go blow for blow with the high school bully, and then he respects you. Oh, I like you, kid. Let's hang out sometime. Yeah, respect. Yeah, okay. That's not the case. Not the case at all. And it's sad. It really is. All right, that's all I got to say. So, thanks for watching.